What's up, adventurers? Are you ready to review some new Hot Wheels track? Let's do it. Keep living the adventure. Axis of Awesome. What is up, adventurers? Welcome to another Reviews Day. On this Reviews Day, we're going to be looking at this brand new Hot Wheels Track Creator set. Now, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, Hot Wheels has decided to reinvent the wheel and come up with an all-new track set. All new connectors and everything. And this has been something they've been working on for several years now, and they just launched those this past summer. We grabbed a few of the sets. We'll talk about those here in a second, but today we're going to be looking at this this set here, and this is the Track Creator Car and Track Starter Pack. As seen here, retails for I think around $15, which is a really good deal for what you get. But before we get into that, let's talk about Hot Wheels track. So, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, Hot Wheels has been making tracks since the 1960s. They started off with a real simple track array here. It's around close to a 3-foot piece of track, maybe a little less. And they would use these connectors here. This is one for the late I think this is from the 1980s here, probably. They didn't change much. They started out with these little, almost like little knives that would fit in these slots, the back of the track here, and they just used friction to keep them in place. So this design basically ran from the 1960s on up until sometime in the late 90s, I want to say. They kind of started to tinker with some of their track connectors, and the most recent iteration of that were these connectors like this right here. So they redesigned their track. This is another of the 3-foot pieces. You see this little hole. These connectors would snap into that hole. The problem with the old tracks was these would wear out over time and your track would get loose. So when you did long stretches, sometimes your track would come apart, which wasn't ideal. So over time, they developed this one here, which was their most recent connector, and these work pretty well. You just depress the center here, and you can pull these out. So they worked really well. And then around the same time, Hot Wheels started coming out with a deeper track. So you can see here, these are about 1/4 inch sidewalls, the same as these. They didn't change for decades. And then the late 90s, early 2000s, around there, maybe a little later, they started to come out with some of these deluxe sets that had these deeper sidewalls. This is about 1/2 inch. This would keep cars on the track, especially in high-speed situations. Because once your cars get flying down the track, sometimes they jump, and they jump the sides of these. So they tinkered with a lot of the engineering, and they came up with some really great track over the years. So this, and one other thing I want to mention, so these newer tracks were still compatible with these old pieces here. So you can still slide these old friction connectors in and they would be compatible. It wouldn't be ideal all the time. Same thing with these right here. These old tracks, you could actually slide these tabs in here and they'd work as well. Like I said, it wasn't always ideal, but it did work. So sometime over the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say, Hot Wheels decided to reinvent the wheel and come up with a brand new track system. So I'm not sure what prompted it, but here we are. I watched kind of the development take place, some online blogs and whatnot, and I was really excited to try these when they came out. So like I said, this is the first set. It's the basic set. There's one set that's a step below it that just comes with tracks. So this second set comes with a car, and then I believe there's 3 other deluxe sets with some battery-powered boosters and loops and other stunts that you can get. So let's go ahead and pop this thing out. Like Legos and like the Mega Constructs, on the back of these you have these little tabs you can depress in, and they're on a corrugated cardboard, so you can kind of work your way around. And then your whole track pops open, like so. And then you can pop those back and keep that box. We don't always keep our stuff, our boxes. We like to put them in big Tupperware containers because we have probably around, I want to say, 1,200 lineal feet of track at this moment. So, and this will add, you know, some more to that. So this comes with, let's see here. This is the starter pack, like I mentioned. Let's pop everything out, take a closer look at it. The car is kind of irrelevant, but we will talk about the car as well. So it comes with this really nice car. It's called, take my glasses off, Night Shifter. You can see here. Really nice car, kind of heavy, feels good, probably going to go on the track. Another thing that I did not know, I was like today years old recently, when I figured out that if you look at the bottom of these cars, where the name would be, on some of them there's like a loop-de-loop shown, and that means they're track cars, I guess. And I did not know that for the longest time. I actually didn't really get into Hot Wheels until my son was born. He's 7 now, and we started just building track together because it's kind of a really cool thing to do. So, I'm figuring out more and more stuff about Hot Wheels that I didn't know. So here's our car, Night Shifter, really cool. It comes with this same car comes with all these sets. There's no different variations, I don't believe. And in it, you have your direction sheet. Shows you how the track works. And you get 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get 10 pieces of track. So in there you get 10 pieces of track, which is about 1 foot long, which is pretty standard for most of your sets of Hot Wheels. These are some older specials, we don't worry about those. And in that you get 7 of what I call the rigid standardized track. And it has these connectors on either side we'll talk about in a second. And then you get 3 of the newly designed Super Flex track is what I'm calling it. So this is really cool because if you're doing where you take the clamp on your old track and you put it down and try to use gravity to control your car's speed and flow, sometimes that track would kink and bend and do weird things. But this here allows you to be able to do that. Now it only has one range of motion in the y-axis, right? So up and down. It does not have a range of motion in the x-axis, so you're not able to take it and curve it. So just be aware of that. That's kind of how this track works. Now, it also comes with 2, these are crucial here. This is a critical part of this review. It comes with these 2 adapters. So you have a male and a female adapter. So these are to hook these to your old style track. So you can take this one here. It has the little tab similar to this one right here. Very similar. And it will hook to this track here and allow you to connect your old track with your new track. And then it has what I consider to be the female end, which also hooks and allows you to hook the male end of this track into it. So it comes with 2 different adapters, which is nice that they actually included those. And then let's talk basically about how this track works. So you've got your adapters. We'll put the old track off to the side because it's kind of, again, kind of irrelevant. So let me come around here to the camera. So basically your track, your new track, has these sockets and they just snap in place. Like so. That's how the connector is. You have no additional connectors that'll wear out. Your track becomes one uniform rigid piece that snaps together. So you got, I guess, less things to keep track of. And you can notice on these, you have that really nice, almost 3/8 of an inch high wall. Not quite as high as this one here, but very, very close. I would say they're almost identical. I said there's just a little bit of a depth difference. So when you're using those cars on here, you're not going to get, let's take a look here. You're not going to get that car thrown off on those high walls, which is really, really nice. So there you go. You've got those that snap together. Of course, like I said, they're about 1 foot piece, and then you can use your flex, your super flex portion here, and you can kind of, you know, curve those up to do whatever. Now, since this is a brand new style and set, you don't see a lot of accessories. So I haven't seen a curve pack yet, booster packs, or anything else, because I think all that, probably since they've done this, is going to require a brand new design, because you're going to have everything that's compatible with these new tracks. Now, we've actually used these quite a bit on some of our track builds here in the last several months, and there's some pros and cons to them that I want to go over that you may or may not be aware of if you tried to build things with these new tracks. First off, they're really nice. The pros, I guess. The pros are really nice. They're really a high wall, so if you use these on your straightaways and whatnot, and you're coming out of a booster and you want to do like an adapter, you know, like in this case here, you're coming out of a booster, and sometimes if you've built a lot of Hot Wheels tracks with boosters, you know, coming out of there, that speed can almost throw that car off the track coming out of that booster. You can kind of get those adapters and kind of orientate it so where you're using this out of those boosters is really nice, because these high walls, which are about a 1/2 inch, I guess, now that I look at it with this old track, they're about the same. These high walls will keep that car on the track. Another thing I like about these is the new connector. They don't come apart hardly at all on a straightaway or a straight section. You just have these on the ground. They're kind of elevated a little bit because the tabs kind of protrude out, and you get a nice rigid straight track, which I think is really awesome. So that's another cool pro. The connections are really nice and tight, so they snap in really good. And like I said, I love the high wall. Also, it's nice for the Super Flex track. You get a few connections of those. Like they say, if you're going to use like a gravity drop for your car and you want to connect it somewhere, you can use these flex tracks that are really nice because they really conform well to whatever you're putting them on. The only Debbie Downer is there's really no good way right now. Well, I guess there kind of is. If you wanted to use those old clamps that we used to clamp everything to and put your track on, you can usually use this portion here and then put it on the clamp and then run that off. So we've done that. So there's just a nice flex track. So I like the high walls. I like the rigidity of the track. And I like the new flex track a lot. They definitely have their uses. Now the cons that I'm not really happy about so far when I've been using this track are on long stretches. This is rigid, but if you want to try to bridge some gaps, like say you want to go from your couch to an ottoman, sometimes these will pop. So these connections, like I'm having a hard time here with them, getting them loose. They seem to be tight, but sometimes certain track will pop. So there's a little bit of a quality control issue, I think, with some of these tracks where they don't all connect the same, I've noticed, because we've bought 3 sets of these. Some are really tight and some are not. So be aware of that. Another thing is when you get a bunch of these connected, like if you want to do the rigid track with this track, you see what's going on. This track here is made, the flex track's obviously made of a different material. It's a little bit of a softer, more pliable plastic. And the problem is if you're going to do a drop and you're going to do some really good curves, there's a tendency of this to break. So the connection, not break, but the connection breaks, right? It becomes disconnected, which is kind of a problem if you want to build a really nice, elaborate type track. These pop. So when you're connecting the two, there's a little bit of a problem there. And that's about all I can say about the cons, other than one other thing. The connectors. You only get 2 connectors per set, which is not great. I think you should get 4. And I think that Mattel and Hot Wheels ought to sell bags of these, because if you're going to make this your primary track now to sell, then you need to have guys like me who have, you know, almost over 1,000 feet of of this standard older track. I've got that, and I've got a whole tub of connectors. If I'm going to do more track, I would love to have access to bags of these connectors, and that would be great, like maybe a 5-pack or whatever, because if this is going to be the primary track you're going to start selling, then you need to have more accessories for it. So, and the connectors would be really, really nice. Other than that, I think it's great. One other, I don't know if I'd call it a con, but another problem I'm going to notice is if you've bought the aftermarket stuff like this track stack or this really cool track pede accessory, these are designed to go with those old slots that are in the bottom of the old track. So moving forward with these new this new track, these old accessories are going to kind of be, I don't want to say they're going to be irrelevant, but they're going to be harder to use for you if you're going to build supports and whatnot. So that's going to be a problem too. So there's going to have to be a new design from somebody in order to build some supports for this new track. Other than that, I think it's a really cool design. I think Mattel really thought it through. They've just got a few little things that I think they need to work out if they're able to. And I think it's a really cool track. I think moving forward, I like the modular function of it. I like the fact that I don't have to chase tabs and wear tabs out and all that jazz. And I think it's a really cool design. And we've probably built 4 or 5 tracks with these. And you've probably seen them on some of my shorts. I do a lot of Hot Wheel track shorts. But I like them a lot. I think it's a cool design, and I can't wait to see what accessories Mattel comes up with. By the way, they're calling this feature their Speed Snap feature. I should have guessed mentioned that in the original. So a Speed Snap feature, like I said, it's a really cool deal, but there are a few little Debbie Downers or little drawbacks to using it. But other than that, I think I give this thing probably, 2 thumbs up for the most part. Like I said, I can't wait to see what Mattel comes up with next, and what kind of accessories we get for this track. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the review of our Hot Wheels Track Creator Speed Snap track system. This is the car and track starter pack. Like I said, it retails for like $14.99, I think. We got this at Meijer. You can get these on Amazon or anywhere else. Obviously, I'm not a paid sponsor. I'm not paid by Mattel to do this review, but I kind of wanted to do it to show everybody kind of how this works. So, yeah, it's a cool set, guys. I look forward to seeing what comes next. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this new set with your kids, your grandkids. Like and subscribe to the page. Hit that notification icon. And in the meantime, guys, keep living the adventure and cheers.